One of the most fascinating aspects of the universe has been the concept of space and time. Since the beginning, many scientists, philosophers have pondered over this, and a few civilizations as well, and India is one of them. In this video, we'll discuss about how the Hindus have viewed the idea of space-time and how they have incorporated this idea in different ways. And let's get started now. Let's now quickly go through the basic outline of the video. I have divided the complete video into 4 different sections. In the first one, I'll talk about few already well-known concepts of space and time in Hinduism, like the cyclic nature of time and a few others. I'm aware that a lot of you already know this, but still I'm doing it for the people who do not know it yet. And coming to 2, 3 and 4, we have the Vaiseshika sutras, Samkhya cosmology and Advaita Vedanta. These 3 come under the core ancient philosophies of Hinduism that discusses the nature of space and time. Now let's get started with the topic 1, that is few well-known concepts of space and time in Hinduism. It is generally perceived that time flows linearly. However, according to Hinduism, time flows in cycles. According to Hindu cosmology, the universe goes through cycles of different phases known as creation, preservation, and dissolution. Now let's suppose a universe has been created. This universe is then preserved for a certain period of time, and then it goes into dissolution, into absolute nothingness where there is no space and no time. And again there is another universe created. This is then preserved for a certain period of time, and then finally goes into dissolution. Now this keeps repeating forever in cycles. Now at the cosmic level, the fundamental unit of time in Hinduism is the Mahayuga. The word Maha here refers to 4, and Yuga means an era or age. A Mahayuga is made up of 4 distinct yugas, namely Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. Each of these yugas span a vast duration. Satya Yuga 1.728 million years, Treta Yuga 1.296 million years, Dwapar Yuga 0.864 million years, and finally Kali Yuga 0.432 million years. These yugas are in the precise ratio of 4:3:2:1. Another fascinating feature of this cycle is the gradual decline in human virtue. In Satya Yuga, righteousness flourishes fully, but with each passing yuga it diminishes, reaching its lowest point in Kali Yuga, the age we live in now. In this way, Hindus claim that the flow of time is cyclic in nature. One of the most groundbreaking discoveries in the 20th century physics was the discovery by Albert Einstein. He discovered that time is relative in nature. Let us now consider an example to understand this theory more clearly. Suppose there are 2 planets, Earth and Aditya. Planet Aditya is located very far away from Earth and also very close to a black hole. A black hole can be considered to be a region of space with an extremely strong gravitational pull. According to Albert Einstein, the flow of time on Aditya is different from that on Earth. For instance, 1 hour on planet Aditya could equal to nearly 20 years of passing on planet Earth. This happens because the stronger the gravity, the slower time flows. Since Aditya lies near a black hole, it experiences immense gravity. As a result, time there runs much slower compared to planet Earth. This simple example helps us understand how Einstein's theory works. A similar idea like this has been incorporated as a story in the ancient Hindu scriptures. In scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Vishnu Purana, there was an incident in which a king named Raivata and along with his daughter Revati once travelled to the abode of Lord Brahma to seek advice on finding a suitable husband for his daughter. Here Brahma is one of the main gods in Hinduism whose principal role is to create the universe. Now just when the king and his daughter arrived at Brahma's abode, Brahma was listening to the celestial music performed by the Gandharvas and he patiently waited. Gandharvas here are celestial beings who perform music to entertain gods. Now after the performance ended, Raivata presented his request to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma smiled and explained that while a short time has seemed to have passed in this realm, but actually around 27 Mahayugas had already gone by on earth. The men Raivata had considered for his daughter were long gone and the world has completely changed now. Later she got married to Balarama of the Dwapar Yuga. In this way, the concept of time dilation was incorporated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, whether the incident really happened or not is a secondary thing, but we can surely say that the author had the intuition that time is relative in nature. In Hinduism, God, or also known as Brahman, is the ultimate reality. but it is perceived in two different ways, one Saguna and the other Nirguna. Saguna Brahman is a Brahman which has name, form, and attributes such as Shiva, Vishnu, and Devi. On the other hand, Nirguna Brahman is Brahman which is nameless, formless, and attributeless. It can be perceived like pure existence and consciousness itself. In Hinduism, space and time are seen as attributes or manifestations of the Saguna Brahman. Shiva is often associated with time, or also known as Kala in Sanskrit, as the one beyond time, symbolized in his name Mahakala. Vishnu, on the other hand, is linked to space, or also known as Akasha in Sanskrit, as the all-pervading preserver who sustains the cosmos. The very Sanskrit root of Vishnu means to pervade, showing that all of space is his presence. Let's now discuss about how the ancient Hindu philosophies emphasize on the nature of space and time. The ancient Hindu philosophies are referred to as Astika Darshanas. Darshanas refer to a viewpoint, and Astika refers to as accepting Vedas as a supreme authority for the sacred knowledge. And there are 6 Astika Darshanas, namely Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. Of the 6 darshanas, 3 darshanas, namely Vaiseshika, Samkhya, and Vedanta, emphasize on metaphysics and ontology. So in this video, we'll talk about what these 3 darshanas say about the nature of space and time. Let's start with Vaiseshika Sutras. Vaiseshika Sutras was founded by Maharshi Kanada around the year 500 BCE. The core idea of this darshana is that it emphasizes a form of pluralistic realism, where reality is not a single essence but a combination of many eternal substances, organized into categories called as padarthas. Remarkably, the text proposes that all physical objects are built from indivisible atoms, making it the oldest known work in human civilization to theorize the concept of atom. An interesting feature of this text is its description of the atom as having a spherical structure. Also, the Vaiseshika Darshana does not rely on a god for creation. Instead, it explains the universe through the law of karma and the natural interaction of atoms. One of the most profound contributions of the Vaiseshika Sutras is its systematic classification of the universe into categories, making it one of the earliest attempts at scientific philosophy in India. According to Rishi Kannada, the universe is composed of 6 fundamental categories called as padarthas, namely Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Vishesha, and Samavaya. Among these, Dravya is central, consisting of the 9 substances, namely earth, water, fire, air, space, time, direction, self, and the mind. In the Vaiseshika Sutras, both space and time are counted among the 9 eternal dravyas or fundamental substances. These are not produced from anything else and remain always unchanged, independent, and all pervading, which is a very unique feature compared to other philosophies. Samkhya is the oldest of the 6 darshanas, which is said to be founded by the sage Kapila. What makes this work very unique is its idea of dualistic realism. That is, the universe is built from 2 eternal realities. One is Purusha, which is referred to as pure consciousness, and the other Prakriti, which can be seen as an active primordial nature. Just like the Vaiseshika Sutras, Samkhya also doesn't emphasize the concept of God. Here, Purusha should not be confused with God. One of the most fascinating features of Samkhya Darshana is its explanation of the evolution of the cosmos. According to Samkhya, when the 2 eternal realities, Purusha the pure consciousness and Prakriti the primordial nature, when they come into proximity, the creation begins. From Prakriti first arises Mahat, the cosmic intelligence, followed by Ahankara, the sense of individuality or ego. Out of this Ahankara emerge the mind, the senses, and the subtle elements. These subtle essences of sound, touch, form, taste, and smell then evolve into the 5 gross elements, are also known as Mahabhutas, namely space, air, fire, water, and earth, which make up the physical universe. In this way, the Samkhya presents creation as a systematic unfolding of nature, from the most subtle principles to the tangible world we experience. In this image, we can see how the evolution takes place. Samkhya Darshana's views on space and time stand in contrast with the Vaiseshika Sutras. Unlike Vaiseshika, which treats both space and time as eternal independent entities, Samkhya does not see them as fundamental entities. Instead, space or akasa is considered an evolute. It arises from Prakriti through a systematic unfolding. From Prakriti comes Mahat, then Ahankara, from which emerge the subtle elements or tanmatras. From the Sabda tanmatra or sound tanmatra specifically arises space. Time, however, is not even a separate entity in Samkhya. It is simply the measure of change born from the ceaseless interplay of the three gunas within Prakriti, namely Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Advaita Vedanta is considered the most authoritative school of philosophy in Sanatana Dharma. Unlike some other systems, it doesn't have a single founder. Rather, its roots are spread across many ancient texts like the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras, and the Bhagavad Gita. It was, however, systematically expounded and consolidated by Adi Shankaracharya in the 8th century CE. The central idea of Advaita is beautifully captured in the phrase Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. It means that the Brahman or pure consciousness is the only ultimate reality. The world around us is Maya, a mere appearance, and the individual self or the Atman is none other than the Brahman itself. In simple words, Advaita Vedanta tells us that the separation we feel between me, you, and the universe is a mere illusion. In the absolute sense, we are not different from the ultimate reality. We are that very reality. The Yoga Vasishta, presented in the Balakanda of the Sri Ramayanam, is one of the most profound philosophical texts of Sanatana Dharma. It unfolds as a dialogue between sage Vasishta and the young prince Rama, where the sage addresses Rama's doubts and reveals the highest truths about existence. Rather than focusing on rituals, it dives into fundamental questions like how the universe arises, what space and time truly are, how the mind shapes reality, and how one can be free from suffering. Blending deep philosophy with parables, it stands as an intellectual masterpiece. At its core, the Yoga Vasishta emphasizes Advaita Vedanta, declaring that the individual self is none other than the absolute reality itself. Now, here I have picked the following phrases from Yoga Vasishta. From the object of perception arises the notion of space. From the vibration of mind, time is born. Now, Yoga Vasishta emphasizes that space and time are not independent realities. Rather, they emerge from our very own process of perception and thought. The moment the mind begins to perceive objects, a sense of distance, direction, and separation appears. And this is what we call as space. Without objects to distinguish, there would be no idea of space at all. In the same way, when the mind vibrates, moving from one thought to another, we experience that flow as time. Without this movement of thoughts, time itself would disappear, just as in deep sleep. Thus, space and time are not fixed entities outside us, but rather are deeply connected within the activity of our own mind. The Yoga Vasishta contains many such phrases, parables, and philosophical ideas about a universe and the ultimate reality that truly can blow our mind. It is a treasure of wisdom and an absolute masterpiece, and I truly encourage you to explore it for yourself. Ramana Maharshi was a modern proponent of Advaita Vedanta, the philosophy of non-dualism. Experiencing a spontaneous awakening at the age of 16, he realized that the true self is beyond the body and mind, untouched by change or death. His teachings aligns perfectly with the Advaita Vedanta. The world of forms is ultimately unreal, and liberation comes from realizing the oneness of the self. When devotees and seekers used to ask Raman Maharshi about space and time, he often replied not with complex philosophy but with direct simplicity. Raman Maharshi often used deep sleep to illustrate the nature of space and time. He used to say, in deep sleep the mind and body are inactive, and the world of forms disappears. There is no experience of time passing, nor is there perception of space. Yet when we are awake, the same world reappears. In the similar context, he explained that space and time exist only when the mind is active, thus emphasizing that space and time are constructs of the mind and do not exist at the absolute level. And that brings us to the end of this video. We explored some profound ideas of space and time in Hindu philosophy, starting with the Vaiseshika Sutras, which describe space and time as independent and fundamental entities of the universe. Moving to Samkhya, where space is seen not as a fundamental but as an evoluted product of Prakriti, while time is regarded as merely a measure of change. Finally, Advaita takes an even deeper stance, declaring that space and time themselves have no existence. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to this channel. I'm aware that there are a few audio errors in this recording, but I'll make sure to improve them in the upcoming videos. Thank you so much for your valuable time and attention.